You know that feeling when you're really trying to achieve something important, but it feels like, I don't know, your own thoughts are getting in the way.
Oh, absolutely. That inner voice, or those doubts that just seem to pop up.
Yeah, exactly. Like your own brain is putting up roadblocks.
Mm-hmm. That internal landscape, it's incredibly powerful. Sometimes it helps, other times,
Mm,
yeah, it feels like a real barrier. And that's exactly what the book Think Straight by the reason 14.1 gets into.
right. We've been digging into this book, and it's really all about getting a better handle on how we think. And it's not just like abstract ideas. It offers practical ways to understand and maybe even shift our thought processes.
Yeah, it's almost like a toolkit
Yeah.
for looking at the foundations of our thinking and then using that insight for actual, tangible self-improvement.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We want to pull out the key ideas from Think Straight that can help you, the listener, really grasp how powerful your thoughts are.
We'll look at identifying those sneaky, limiting beliefs.
Uh-huh. The ones that hold you back without you maybe even realizing it.
Exactly, and explore concrete ways to build a more, well, positive and effective mindset.
And this isn't just about feeling good, right? It's about equipping yourself to actually reach your goals, improve relationships, and just generally boost your well-being.
Precisely. The book's core idea is that our thoughts aren't just passive background noise, they actively shape our lives.
How so?
Well, they directly influence our emotions, the choices we make, and ultimately, how we perceive and experience reality itself.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. Thoughts shaping reality. The book talks about neuroplasticity. What's the main takeaway there?
The big thing about neuroplasticity is understanding our brains aren't fixed. They're not static.
Right?
They have this amazing ability to change, to reorganize themselves throughout our lives based on, well, what we focus on, our experiences.
Well, old habits or thought patterns aren't necessarily permanent.
Exactly. That's the hopeful part. Even long-standing ways of thinking can potentially be altered.
Okay, so if someone's constantly thinking negative thoughts, like dwelling on failure, what's the impact, according to the book?
Well, the book gives a pretty stark example. If you repeatedly focus on failing, your brain can actually become less effective at building the neural connections needed for success.
Wow. So it's like the brain takes that negative expectation seriously.
Sort of, yeah. It's almost like it prioritizes pathways that align with that expectation. It's quite powerful.
That sounds a bit daunting, but I guess there's a flip side. If we intentionally focus on positive thoughts,
Hmm.
can that actually change our brain structure too?
That's the key insight, yes.
Mhm.
Positive self-talk, focusing on capabilities that can encourage the brain changes needed for success.
And the book also links thoughts to action or inaction, right?
Definitely. It points out that if you genuinely believe you can succeed, you're just much more likely to try to put in the effort to push through obstacles.
Whereas if you're convinced you'll fail,
You might avoid even starting or give up at the first hurdle. Belief drives action.
the book has some compelling stories, doesn't it? Like the person battling cancer with that strong positive belief, or the business person convinced they could succeed against the odds.
Yeah, those examples really illustrate how conviction, how our beliefs can almost become self-fulfilling.
Hmm. That level of belief acts like fuel then, for motivation and resilience.
Absolutely. It can be a powerful engine.
Okay, let's talk about these limiting beliefs. They sound like the hidden traps in our thinking. How does the book define them?
Essentially, they're deep-rooted negative assumptions about ourselves, about what we're capable of.
Like old software running in the background.
That's a good analogy, yeah. Telling you you can't do this or that's impossible for you, even if the reality is different. They really narrow our perception of what's possible.
The book has some direct questions to help us spot them. It asks things like, do you often think, I cannot do something?
Mm-hmm.
Or, it is impossible?
Mm-hmm. Or do you often fear failure and avoid taking risks?
Do you criticize yourself? Undervalue successes?
And the comparison trap. Do you compare yourself with others and often feel inadequate?
I think most of us could probably say yes to at least one of those at times.
It's very common. So the crucial next step is, okay, you've noticed a potential limiting belief. What do you do about it?
Right. What does the book suggest? How do we loosen their grip?
First, it says to really question them. Challenge those negative thoughts. Ask yourself, where's the actual evidence for this belief?
And often, when you look closely,
The evidence is shaky, or maybe based on past experiences that aren't relevant anymore, or just non-existent.
and the book also talks about self-compassion. which feels important here.
Hugely important. Instead of beating yourself up when you stumble, treat yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a friend. It's about shifting from harsh self-criticism to understanding.
And positive affirmations, do they really work?
The book positions them as an active tool, consciously reminding yourself of your strengths, your capabilities. It's like actively countering those negative internal messages that have become automatic.
Okay, makes sense.
And another strategy it mentions is setting small, achievable goals.
Why small goals specifically?
Because each little win builds confidence. It provides proof, real evidence against that limiting belief that says, I can't. It starts creating a positive feedback loop.
Gotcha. Building momentum.
Exactly.
Okay, let's circle back to neuroplasticity. We know the brain can change, but how do we actively, use that? How do we harness it?
Right. It's not just passive. We can direct it. The book points out that learning new things at any age,
Like a language or an instrument?
yeah, or even a new hobby, that actively creates new neural connections. It keeps the brain flexible, adaptable.
And what about deliberately replacing negative thoughts? How does that work neurologically, according to the book?
Well, if you consistently choose to focus on positive thoughts, you strengthen the neural pathways linked to those thoughts. It's like exercising a muscle.
And the negative pathways.
They can weaken from disuse. So over time, you're essentially rewiring your brain towards a more positive default setting. This can really help reduce stress and anxiety.
So breaking old habits, forming new ones, that's neuroplasticity in action too.
Precisely. Every time you practice a new behavior, you're strengthening those new neural pathways, making it more automatic over time, less effort required.
And the book also mentions things like puzzles, travel, reading complex stuff, just challenging the brain generally.
Yeah, it's all forms of mental exercise.
Okay.
It enhances that overall plasticity, keeping your brain fit and ready to adapt.
Now, the book really emphasizes self-awareness as the starting point for all this. What does that really mean day to day?
It's about observing your thoughts and emotions neutrally, without immediate judgment.
Just noticing.
Just noticing, creating a bit of space between you and your thoughts, your feelings, seeing them without instantly labeling them good or bad. It's a stance of non-judgmental observation.
Okay, and how do we get better at that? What techniques does the book suggest?
Mindful meditation is a big one. It trains that ability to pay attention to the present moment without judgment.
Yep.
Journaling is another powerful tool. Writing things down helps you externalize and examine your thoughts and feelings more objectively.
And even just naming emotions.
Yeah, simply identifying and labeling your emotions as they come up. Okay, I'm feeling frustrated right now. That act alone increases awareness.
So more awareness means more understanding,
Yeah,
which gives us more power to change things.
exactly. Once you're aware of those automatic negative thought patterns, you can actually choose how to respond. You can question them, challenge them, and intentionally substitute more positive or constructive ways of thinking.
The book talks about shifting thoughts into points of view, not facts.
Yes, that's a subtle but important distinction. Treating a thought as a perspective you hold rather than an absolute truth.
And gratitude or thankfulness,
Yeah.
how does that fit in?
The book sees it as a powerful practice for shifting focus, intentionally looking for and appreciating the good things.
Even small things.
Especially small things. It trains your brain to scan for positives, which can cultivate more joy and satisfaction, counteracting negativity bias.
And it suggests practical ways, like a gratitude journal.
Yep. Keeping a journal, consciously noting moments of thankfulness during the day, or expressing gratitude to others. Simple, but effective.
There's also a visualization technique mentioned.
Right. Vividly imagining achieving your goals, feeling the positive emotions associated with that success. This kind of mental rehearsal can be incredibly motivating, inspiring you to take the actual steps needed.
Okay, so moving from mindset to action. The book talks a lot about clear goal setting, using the SMART principle. Can you break that down?
Sure. SMART is an acronym. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
So not just, I want to be fitter.
Exactly. That's a wish. A SMART goal would be more like, I will lose 5 kilograms in the next 3 months by exercising 3 times a week and cutting out sugary drinks. It's concrete.
Specific, measurable, achievable seems reasonable. Relevant to getting fitter and time-bound, 3 months. Got it.
And the book stresses writing these goals down, making them visible.
Why is writing them down so important?
It makes them more concrete, more real. Keeping them visible acts as a constant reminder, helps you stay focused.
But what about obstacles? Things always come up.
The book advises anticipating them, thinking ahead. what might get in the way.
And planning for them.
Exactly. Having backup plans, alternative solutions. It's about building resilience, being flexible, and adjusting your approach when needed, not just giving up.
And staying motivated through that process.
Celebrating the small wins is key. Acknowledging progress, no matter how small.
That makes sense. Keeps the momentum going.
And maintaining a positive attitude, believing in yourself, and also, importantly, connecting with supportive people, building that network.
It's interesting how these principles then extend into relationships. The book connects thinking through to building better connections with others.
Yeah, it argues that strong relationships are built on things like effective communication, a positive outlook, and mutual respect.
Okay, effective communication. What does that look like according to the book?
It's about being clear and honest, but also listening actively, really trying to understand the other person's viewpoint without jumping in to criticize or judge.
So empathy is key.
Definitely. And positive body language, approaching conversations with an open mind, it all contributes.
And disagreements, they happen. How does the book suggest handling conflict?
Staying calm is the first step. Then trying genuinely to see the issue from all sides.
Not just your own.
Right. And focusing on finding solutions together, collaboratively, rather than just winning the argument, and not underestimating the power of apologizing and forgiving.
Beyond conflict, how do we actively nurture relationships?
The book suggests simple things. Being kind and helpful, giving genuine compliments, appreciating people, making quality time for each other.
And growing together.
Yeah, supporting each other's learning, inspiring each other. It's about mutual growth.
Let's shift gears to productivity. The book offers strategies there too, starting with prioritizing. It mentions the ABCD method.
Right. It's a way to categorize tasks. A tasks are the most important and urgent. Do these first.
Okay.
B are important but not urgent. Schedule these. C are less important but might seem urgent. Delegate or do quickly if you must. D are things to delegate or just eliminate.
So focus energy on the A's and B's mainly.
That's the core idea. Don't let the C's and D's crowd out what really matters.
And distractions.
Yeah.
Productivity killer. What does the book advise?
It addresses both kinds. External, like phone notifications, noise, social media. And internal, like worries or negative thoughts spinning in your head.
So what to do?
Practical stuff. Silence the phone, maybe use app blockers, find a quiet workspace if possible. For internal stuff, use to-do lists to offload thoughts, practice mindfulness to quiet the mental chatter.
And working more efficiently. Things like single tasking.
Yes, focusing on one thing at a time is generally more efficient than constantly switching contexts.
Less mental energy wasted.
Exactly. Also, taking regular breaks vital for maintaining energy. Using automation tools where it makes sense.
In Parkinson's law, the idea that work expands to fill the time available.
Right, so setting realistic deadlines can actually help you work more efficiently. And the 2-minute rule.
If it takes less than 2 minutes, just do it now.
Yep. Stops those little things piling up and feeling overwhelming.
Interesting how even financial well-being ties into this thinking straight idea, even though it's not strictly a finance book.
Well, the principles apply. Like assessing your situation clearly, setting clear, measurable goals, say, for debt payoff or saving.
And avoiding emotional decisions about money.
Definitely. Using logic, researching options. The book also warns against unnecessary debt, advocating for tracking and managing it carefully.
So things like developing a savings habit, investing wisely based on your own situation, tracking expenses.
Right. It's about financial self-awareness, taking responsibility, and having a long-term perspective, rather than getting swayed by short-term emotions or get-rich-quick ideas.
And finally, the book ties this all into overall health, physical, mental, emotional.
It sees them as interconnected. You can't really think straight if you're constantly stressed, sleep-deprived, or neglecting your physical health.
So stress management techniques are important.
Crucial. Recognizing stress triggers and using healthy coping methods, deep breathing, meditation, yoga, exercise, whatever works for you.
Sleep gets a mention too.
A big mention. Establishing a regular schedule, a calming bedtime routine, creating a good sleep environment, dark, quiet, cool. Limiting caffeine and alcohol, especially near bedtime.
Makes sense. And the basics like diet and exercise.
Absolutely. Eating balanced meals, moving your body regularly. Plus, maintaining those strong social connections we talked about, that's vital for mental health, too.
And expressing emotions healthily.
Yes, rather than bottling them up. It's all part of that integrated picture of well-being that supports clear thinking.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive into Think Straight. It really covers a lot of ground.
It does.
Yep.
From the fundamental power of our thoughts,
To spotting and challenging those limiting beliefs.
understanding and using neuroplasticity,
Yeah. The importance of self-awareness, gratitude, setting smart goals.
and seeing how all this connects to our relationships, our productivity, even our health and finances.
It really provides a practical framework, doesn't it?
Right.
Tools you can use to gain more control by consciously working with your own mind.
Exactly. It's about gaining agency, cultivating a more effective and positive inner world, which then reflects outwards.
So for everyone listening, here's something to chew on, a final thought. We've talked about neuroplasticity, the brain's amazing ability to change. Knowing that what's one small positive thought or action you could consciously choose to practice, starting today. Just one small thing to begin shaping that reality you want for yourself.